Welcome. I am here with Rich Valdes in, what channel is this?
The iHeartRadio This Is America podcast going all across America with Eric.
And we are going to do an awesome show right in about a few minutes about Techie Youth, and it's going to go airing, and it's going to be awesome. Stay tuned, keep watching, and enjoy the show.
Don't move a muscle, keep it locked right there. Techie Youth is going live with This Is America right now. All right, America, welcome back. Rich Valdes with an S, and I've mentioned before that we're going to have this spotlight on American entrepreneurship. And the American entrepreneur I want to highlight today and put the spotlight on is not so much the entrepreneur himself, although he's a social entrepreneur. It's really what they're doing, this free market approach to self-sustainability, to being self-sufficient, and helping kids that are coming from a very challenging background in the process. I've mentioned this on the air. I've mentioned it on the program. There's a charity in New York City, in Queens, and Long Island City called Techie Youth. And it was started a while back, and we're going to get to the story of that. But I think it's so important that it was started because of a need that this gentleman didn't even know existed. And when he found out there was a need, he rose to the challenge. And if you know anything about this show, you know that I'm always talking about rising to the challenge because we have to do something. So I want to welcome you to the program, Eric, David Benari. Welcome to This Is America.
Thank you, Rich. Glad to be here.
So give us a little bit about the story, the background. You're a CTO, a C-suite person, the chief technology officer of some tech firm, and you've worked for Yahoo, and you've done a lot of stuff. How do you end up in Long Island City, Queens, mentoring foster kids that are coming out of the system, kids that are dealing with juvenile justice, all sorts of stuff like that?
So it sort of fell in my lap by accident. Randomly, about 7 years ago, give or take, I was in a conversation with some girl I met, and she happened to be a foster care caseworker, and she's telling me about what happens to youth when they reach their age of emancipation, when they lose all their benefits from foster care because they hit age either 18 or 21, depending on what part of the country they're in. And nearly all of them go homeless because that includes their housing. And if they can't financially self-sustain, which most can't, they end up literally homeless or incarcerated for trying to make ends meet for illegal reasons. Statistically, it's nearly all of them that end up with that fate. This broke my heart, and I didn't know this even was a thing. Like, I had no idea this kind of problem exists. And I just said to myself, I got to do something about it.
Now, hang on. I think that went really, really fast. You just said that nearly all of them end up incarcerated or homeless.
That's correct. Yeah, and it's a logical conclusion based on the scenario. They're in foster care because they had no family to take them. The ones who have family go to kinship care. So they have nobody in the world who's gonna care for them. If they can't financially self-sustain, they've got no shelter. It's simple as that.
Wow. So you identify a problem, and you're like, should I call my congressman? Should I call talk radio and say, what can we do? What can we do? No, you decided to do something, right? Tell me, what did you decide to do when you heard that?
So my background was in tech, as you mentioned, and I have a lot of years of like chief technical officer experience in Yahoo. And I said, tech solves a lot of problems in the world. Let's see if this can solve this as well. And apparently no one's tried this. And literally, it took about a year of planning where me and several co-founders were recruiting foster kids straight out of their foster care group homes, which is like a modern day orphanage for teenagers in foster care. And we literally recruited them and started our first class of a dozen kids in November of 2015. We were the first people to use the classroom in the Microsoft store, flagship store, Fifth Avenue, literally 3 days after the doors opened. And we had our first class, and we brought a computer, and we had all the youth take the whole computer apart, and then at the end we said, all right, you guys put it all back together again yourself. And believe it or not, they did. And I think our first class was about 4 hours long, and in 4 hours, an entire group of a dozen foster kids can disassemble a computer and put it back together themselves. We just all looked at each other and go, we got something here. This is it. Fast forward to the beginning of 2020, over 800 youth have gone through our doors, and now with COVID and all that, we've added in e-learning and remote studies, and now we have over 3,000 youth in our program at this point.
So you're a billionaire. You have all this money, and you decide, I'm going to start this charity. I'm going to do all of this stuff because I'm really rich and I'm
a big deal to me. This is where my heart is at. And the truth of the matter is I enjoy it, but it's a huge pay cut. I mean, a CTO salary is way more than I'm getting as
away from the fast life and all of that stuff. And of course, I'm embellishing because I'm trying to make the cases. So many people often tell me, what can we do about any problem that they see? And oftentimes I'm thinking the solution's right in front of you. You're just afraid to take the chance. You're afraid to lose money and slum it a little bit so that you can make the impact that you want to make. And I think that's the biggest fear that people have, is actually taking that leap. What made you cross over? What made you say, I'm going to take the pay cut, I'm going to make the sacrifice?
You know, I honestly don't know. I was like one foot in front of another, realizing that no one else is doing this and I have to do it. And it's like, if there's no one to do it, I'm going to be the one to do it and make this happen. It's a heartbreaking situation to know there are like 3,000 teenagers in New York City alone, foster care, that they're all going to end up homeless if nobody helps them. And I looked around and there was very few people helping them. And the ones who do are teaching them vocational skills, how to be a plumber, how to be a custodian. And no one's teaching them career skills. I saw the opportunity here. These kids could be career professionals. They just need someone to guide them. And, you know, we tried it, and who knew it would work, but it does. We've got youth who are now doing very well in the tech sector. And now with the new COVID programming, or Learn to E-Earn, we call it, we're teaching them how to earn an income while working remotely from anywhere they are. So we were originally teaching them tech skills, hands-on, how to become a help desk support technician. We did that until 2020. And now with the changing times, we've adapted, and we're teaching them now how they can earn money anywhere they are. And there's like 20 different tracks of how they can earn money. They choose their own, including like trading stocks and printing 3D printed objects that they design on their computer and sell, and doing all sorts of great things, video editing and web development, lots of cool stuff, AI.
So looking at some of those things, give me a story, I guess, of somebody that you personally, dealt with that gave you their testimony, and maybe you could share it with us.
I think that the best story is, it's a simple one, but it's a great one. It's like a pay it forward story. So we had one student in our prior class who we taught him the skills to be a help desk support technician, like many of our youth, and he went on to teach computers to kindergartners and first graders in Harlem. And we kind of saw that as great. He's like taking what we taught him and teaching others, and that's my favorite story by far.
Right, because it's multiplying.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
Great. That's great. So now you mentioned that they're doing these programs, like they're learning about AI, they're learning about music production and trading stocks, day trading, whatnot, and they're doing this online as to become more entrepreneurial, to become more self-sufficient, which I think is terrific. What if some of these kids, again, they don't have families? What if they don't have a cell phone? I mean, everybody thinks everybody has a cell phone, or they don't have a laptop. How does that work out?
They need some device to sign in. They can do it from their phones. However, the ones who are generally in need of a device, we have a program that we give them laptops. And we have over 100 laptops to distribute. Our first distribution day is actually tomorrow, and then we're going to do several other distribution days after that. And literally giving them out laptops, they can choose between a Chromebook or a Windows-based computer, and they got it. It's simple. It's as simple as them just applying for it through our formalized program, where we base it on need. We're not going to give it to the youth who can afford their own, but if they clearly cannot, then they got a laptop free, straight from our program.
So if they're taking classes on their smartphone and the screen is cracked and they can't see everything, and they say, hey, Eric, I need a laptop, you guys are going to provide one?
Absolutely, yes.
Now, how are you able, if you said you're not a billionaire and that you're slumming it, how are you able to afford that when you have 3,000 kids in the program?
Okay, so there's two halves to that coin. First off, we have benefactors who have been generous, and the most notable one is Craig Newmark, the Craig of Craigslist, and as well as several other very generous benefactors. However, very generous is a relative term. We operate at about 5% of the typical budget of a charity with 3,000 constituents who we spend 150 hours on each constituent. That's how long our program length is.
So what would a typical budget for a program like that be?
Most of the New York charities that are relevant to what we do have about $12 million a year burn rate. Some are as much as $20 million. We're below $500,000. So we're in a completely different league in terms of ROI. What the donors give to us goes way farther than any other charity.
How do you make that happen?
A lot of scaling. Everything is built to scale. So when we create a new platform, like we did for the Learn to Earn, it was all designed that it can scale unlimited. We could take as many youth as New York City wants to send us, which is how we arranged it. If we had a system that didn't scale well, we have to have a lot of in-person communication, like we originally did in the classrooms. That had a ceiling. We had 65 seats in a classroom. We ran an AM and a PM class, and it's 5 hours long each. That was the limit. So now we build things to scale, and that allows us to grow to 3,000 youth. We have a team of some 60-odd representatives who coach the youth, and all of those teams are located in countries where the dollar goes a lot farther, and they are using the money to buy themselves food, because these are really hungry people in other countries of Asia and Africa, and they really need the money, and we're happy to employ them, and our dollar goes way farther that way. And these are countries obviously where English is commonly spoken. That's the main requirement. So we train each of them how they can be coaches to our students, and then we're not only employing people who really need the money, but we have a big team with not a lot of budget. I mean, that's basically how we do it.
So you're being innovative with every dollar that you get. You've got Craig from Craigslist that's helping you out, and some other charitable foundations, but you said you're operating at a discount of 80% off of every other charity that does the type of work that you do, for the size of the group that you have of 3,000 teenage kids.
Almost. The discount's 95%. We're at below 5% of the kids.
Below 5%, so you said below 20. Wow.
Yeah, no. Most charities in this range are $12 to $20 million if they have 3,000 constituents and they spend 150 hours per constituent. That's typical operating cost. We're nowhere near that.
So it sounds like you do a great job. You're stretching every last dollar. You're running a tight ship, very lean. The people that are listening, that are saying, man, I wish I could have done that, but I didn't have the foresight to do that, but maybe I could send this guy a check. And again, we're on with David Benari. He is the founder, executive director of Techie Youth, techieyouth.org, a public charity in New York State, based out of New York City, that helps young people that are at risk from multiple factors, whether it's coming out of foster care, facing juvenile justice, and a myriad of other situations, and helping them to be self-sufficient so that they don't end up homeless. These are kids that don't have families. They're orphans in many ways. How can somebody help you do what you're doing?
We need funding desperately. I mean, it's flat out. I mean, just go to the website, techieyouth.org, and give a donation. That's the best thing. If you have opportunity, because you're running a company, to make like a corporate drive for your company, that would be ideal. We are working with one organization that just started that literally this week, and that's going to be helpful. But basically, we need more funds to scale this bigger. We could be in every state of America by next year if we had the funds to do it. We need that help.
You got a six-figure gift or a grant from Chick-fil-A. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we won a competition. We were number one in the Northeast for the Chick-fil-A innovation competition of, I think it was 2020 it was. December 2020, whatever that they called it that, or 2021. And that was $150,000 that we're still living off of, straight up. But that was really great. And they told us we won by a landslide. Like the gap between us and second place in terms of votes was huge. So we won by a landslide. We're really grateful for that. And we also won a 10-10 wins competition where they also told me we won by a landslide. So these things are great, but they're supportive and they're helpful. But we got to get much larger donations if we're going to grow to the scale that we could. I mean, 3,000 kids is enormous, but there's no reason we can't do 50,000 by next year. We have everything in place except the finances.
Check them out at techieyouth.org, techieyouth.org. Put your hand deep into that pocket, pull out your credit card, send them a few bucks, because I think the work they're doing is great. I've seen it firsthand. I've been to the facility. You rarely ever hear me tell you to give anybody money on this program, but I want to urge you to just consider it and check out the website, because I think it's important.
The website is techieyouth.org, techieyouth.org. God bless all of you who opened your pockets. You're going to help a lot of youth, and we really appreciate it. The youth appreciate it, and it's life-changing for a lot of them. The stories that the youth tell us on video, which is public on our YouTube channel, will break your hearts. I mean, honestly, if you look on our YouTube channel, you hear them open their hearts to talk about how this Techie Youth has changed their lives. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer why I'm doing this.
All right, well, there you have it. We'll put a pin in it there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I always tell you have to stand for something, because if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. And clearly, he's not falling for it. He said, there's a problem. We need to fix it. This isn't about him and any type of self-aggrandizement. This is about how you get scrappy. You do what you got to do. You figure out how to stretch a dollar and you make it happen. And you can do that with any problem you see in your community, whether it's foster care or whatever political issue you're facing. People need to realize you have to make the sacrifice. And if you stand for nothing, you fall for anything. And the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people like you and like Eric and me and for anybody else to sit there and do nothing. So don't do nothing. Stand up and do something for your community. Hasta la próxima. Until next time, America, I am Rich Valdes, and this is America. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Eric David Benari. Techie Youth is the organization, techieyouth.org. If you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. Hasta la próxima. Until the next time. I'm Rich Valdes, and this is America.
Awesome, Rich. Thank you so much. That was a totally awesome interview. Thank you all for watching this amazing Techie Youth program. Hasta la próxima. We're going to go on to the next shot soon, but you got to like, share, subscribe to Techie Youth and also to Rich's program. Plug it.
Always. And this is America, but we're here for you. techieyouth.org. Make sure you get out there and do what you got to do.
Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.